War of the Worlds is a 2005 Steven Spielberg-directed sci-fi movie starring Tom Cruise and based on the alien invasion story by H.G. Wells, the novel The War of the Worlds from 1898. The novel is perhaps most famous for the 1938 radio play starring Orson Welles and adapted by Howard Koch. It's claimed the broadcast drew panic among the public because some people were convinced while listening to it that an actual alien invasion was taking place, like for real. Anyway, the 2005 film did pretty well at the box office. It made over $600 million from a budget of over $130 million, something like that. So it's Tom Cruise in a sci-fi movie with a color palette that's quite desaturated. Almost sounds like it could go well with watching Minority Report. It tells the story of Ray Ferrier, who's estranged from his wife and two children, his young daughter Rachel and his teenage son Robbie. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of the Hollywood deadbeat dad trope, which I think has been done way too much. His story arc is one of redemption through keeping them safe during the course of the film, getting them to safety and thus having a reconciliation at the end. The family dynamics are very dysfunctional, and Ray is not, at least in the beginning, a particularly likable character. He's oddly disinterested in his children, like at the start where his daughter asks what they're going to do for dinner, and he just coldly tells her to order takeout. It's not clear why he's so distant with his kids, and it's never actually explained. But Cruise certainly portrays the role that he's given with conviction. Dakota Fanning does a brilliant job as Rachel, as does Justin Chatwin as Robbie. The story is obviously about aliens taking over the planet, and it certainly is a very bleak and dark depiction of such events. It also portrays some of the worst aspects of humanity, like desperate and violent mob behavior. So, in New Jersey, one afternoon, extraordinary storm clouds form in the sky. Biblical stuff, followed by some unusual weather events and a series of frenetic lightning bolts. It turns out these lightning bolts are actually the aliens being transported underground, where these huge tripod machines have been buried for Lord only knows how long, and they spring forth from the earth and begin vaporizing people on the streets. This is happening all over the world, and to make matters worse, they use electromagnetic pulses to disable our technology. There is a bit of a plot contrivance whereby Ray manages to get a mechanic to somehow repair a car. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. They needed to have a car for the story, to literally drive the story forward. Critically, what works really well in this film is the tension, the unnerving atmosphere, and the absolute horror and terror of the action scenes. It works extremely well in that regard. The aliens just devastate the place, obliterating buildings, infrastructure, leveling towns, and of course, killing millions. There's some really dramatic scenes in this film, very memorable shots, like a plane crash that is really brilliantly revealed to us visually. Ray walks out of the house, and we get this fantastic pullback shot of the crash site. Likewise, there's another very disturbing scene where Rachel witnesses bodies just floating down a river. Thousands of them. The poor child of Rachel in this story, the character would just be traumatized for life by what she experiences in this story. It's unreal. There's a lot of moments like that in the film that are really shocking, and I actually think that's what makes this film work. The action set pieces and the sheer spectacle and shock factor of this alien invasion feels more believable to me than something like Independence Day. This film is much more grounded and gritty and darker in tone and execution, and I think it really captures the desperation, the sense of confusion and chaos and societal breakdown that would result from such an earth-shattering scenario. It actually feels just as much like a disaster movie as it does an alien invasion film, and also a survival film. The performances are very good. I just don't particularly connect with these characters, however. When Tom Cruise has his moments to be the intense action star we know and love, he's great. But the character he's given to play is kind of unevenly written in my view. And there was also this one scene that I really don't like. It drives me crazy. It's at night, and it's during a battle between the US military and the aliens, where everyone seems to be running towards the explosions. Okay. So anyway, Robbie, for some reason, wants to run off and check it out. He wants to witness this, right? I'm not exactly sure why he wants to run towards explosions, but um, it's also very out of character for Robbie because he's irresponsibly abandoning his sister, who he's been very close to and very protective of. For some reason, though, Robbie wants to run towards the gunfire, the tanks, and the bazookas, which are being fired all around him. He just says, "I need to see this." Why? It's so daft, and it just feels like it's inserted into the film to create this unnecessary moment of drama. And Ray just leaves his daughter by a tree while he goes and argues with Robbie about this. And then there's this other couple who come along and they find Rachel and they think that she's abandoned and that her parents have just left her there. And they're about to take her. And I'm just screaming at the television, Ray, just leave Robbie. He's an adult. If he wants to do something stupid, you can't really stop him. It's obviously nuts. Just go back and get Rachel, for God's sake. It's the one moment in the film that just doesn't make any sense and really irritates me. But as luck wouldn't have it, they end up taking shelter with this eccentric lunatic played brilliantly by Tim Robbins. And that leads to a few more tense moments where we witness the aliens feeding on humans and trying to find them in this building. And I didn't like the fact that the alien creatures they're a little too cartoonish and cutesy. Their big eyes. It just, they don't look threatening, really, It kind of undermines their creepy factor. I think what was needed was an alien design that looked more menacing, like the aliens from Independence Day or something like the aliens from Alien. Something truly hideous and disturbing. Their machines, their tripods, they're so threatening, but the aliens themselves just kind of look a bit weak. It doesn't work for me. But I'm very impressed at how well the CGI has held up over the years. Yes, some of it is a bit dated, but a lot of it is still superb, even now. I will say, though, I'm kind of torn on the Morgan Freeman narration. I find it a bit cheesy, actually, and kind of unnecessary. I think the same information could have been communicated, and it probably would have been better communicated through news bulletins, news reports, something like that. But what we learn in the end is that for all the power and advanced technology of the aliens, for all of their capabilities, they were ultimately undone by the microorganisms that exist on planet Earth all around us. Obviously, humans evolved alongside them, but the aliens didn't. So the aliens are not adapted to them, so they have no natural immunity to all of the diseases that we've been exposed to and that we are completely immune from. So over several days, the aliens all die out. I guess it makes logical sense, it's plausible, and it works as a conclusion, of course, and it is in keeping with the ending of the H.G. Wells' second book in the War of the Worlds series, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a particularly strong ending from a dramatic point of view. It leaves the ending feeling a bit anticlimactic and also far too sudden. I think it's a limp conclusion. Nevertheless, the film works very well at portraying the sheer scope and world-destroying threat of the alien invasion, while also telling a believable survival story in the midst of a total breakdown of societal order. So those are my thoughts on 2005's War of the Worlds. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, share the video, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.